If your feet buzz or tingle at night, if your hands go numb without a clear reason, or if you're dealing with burning stabbing or electric shock pain that no one can fully explain, stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to share may reveal what's harming your nerves and, more importantly, how to stop the damage before it becomes irreversible. This isn't about simply coping with pain, it's about protecting your nerves while you still have time. Here's my promise: by the end of this video, you'll understand the single most damaging poison attacking older adults' nerves today. Something many people are exposed to every day without realizing it. You'll also know exactly what increases your risk and what needs to change, not someday, but now. For decades, I've worked with seniors struggling with nerve pain, numbness, burning feet, poor balance, and a condition many are told they just have to accept: neuropathy. And one of the most frustrating patterns I see is how often people are given the wrong explanation for why their nerves are failing. They're told it's age, they're told it's genetics, they're told it's unavoidable. And in many cases, that simply isn't true. So, I want to ask you one direct question. This is your call to action. Have you felt tingling numbness or burning in your hands or feet? And did you know your blood sugar can damage nerves even if you've never been diagnosed with diabetes? Share your answer in the comments, because awareness is your first line of defense, and once nerve damage passes a certain point, we don't get unlimited second chances. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Frank. He was 68, newly retired, still active, but at night his feet burned. During the day his toes felt numb, and every so often sharp electric pains would shoot through his legs without warning. He had been given the usual explanations. It's age, maybe circulation sometimes. This just happens. But when we looked deeper, we found a different reason. There was a daily exposure, something he believed was harmless that was slowly damaging his nerves. When we removed it, the changes weren't instant, but the decline finally stopped, and that changed everything. So keep this question in mind. What was the poison, and how many older adults are unknowingly feeding it every day? To answer that, you need to understand what nerves really are. Nerves are living tissue, not simple wires. They're fragile structures that depend on oxygen, nutrients, and stable internal chemistry to function. And unlike skin or muscle nerves, repair extremely slowly. That means harm can build silently over time. Long before you notice tingling numbness or pain, your nerves may already be under steady attack. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The biggest poison destroying older adults' nerves isn't some rare toxin or industrial chemical. It isn't even alcohol on its own. It's something far more ordinary, something many seniors are actually encouraged to consume regularly. The most damaging poison is chronic blood sugar toxicity. And this is crucial. You don't need to be diagnosed with diabetes for blood sugar to injure nerves. All it takes is repeated spikes. Millions of seniors experience those surges daily without realizing it. When blood sugar stays high, sugar molecules start binding to nerve fibers and to the tiny blood vessels that supply them. That sets off inflammation, oxidative stress, and damage to the protective insulation around nerves. Over time, nerve signals become distorted. First tingling, then numbness, then burning, then pain, then balance problems. One of the biggest myths in senior health is that neuropathy appears out of nowhere. It doesn't. It develops quietly, often over years, while the poison keeps working in the background. So, let me ask you something important. Have you ever been told you're borderline pre-diabetic, or that your blood sugar is a little high, but not that bad? That's often where nerve damage begins. In fact, newer research shows pre-diabetes can damage nerves nearly as often as full diabetes. The difference is that most people with pre-diabetes don't know they have it. And this is where many people push back and say, "But I eat healthy." Most of my patients say the same thing. That's exactly why this is so dangerous. The poison doesn't look obvious. It hides inside foods and habits that sound healthy on the surface. Here's how this poison harms nerves step by step. You eat something that drives blood sugar up. Your body releases insulin to move that glucose into cells. Over time, those cells respond less effectively. Sugar lingers in the bloodstream longer. And the longest, most vulnerable nerves, especially in the feet and hands, get repeatedly exposed to toxic glucose levels. As that exposure continues, the tiny blood vessels that feed those nerves begin to break down. Oxygen delivery drops. the nerves slowly become undernourished and stressed. Because the process is gradual, most people don't connect the cause to the effect. They say, it came out of nowhere when it's actually been building quietly for years. And here's the open loop to hold on to. If blood sugar toxicity is so harmful, why doesn't everyone with higher sugar develop neuropathy? Because it depends on how often the spikes happen, how long they've been happening, and how resilient the nerves are. Some nerves tolerate damage longer, but once a tipping point is crossed, symptoms appear and can escalate quickly. Now, let's pinpoint where this daily blood sugar toxicity comes from. The first major source is liquid sugar, fruit juice, sweetened coffee, drinks, sports drinks, and even many healthy smoothies. Liquid sugar hits the bloodstream extremely fast because there's no fiber to slow absorption. That creates sharp spikes that directly stress nerve tissue. Seniors are often told juice is easy nutrition, but in reality, it's one of the quickest ways to trigger the kind of surges that damage nerves. The second major source is refined carbohydrates eaten on their own: bread, cereal, crackers, rice, pasta, especially when there's no protein or fat alongside them. These foods break down into glucose quickly, and while seniors are often advised to choose easy to digest, food's easy digestion frequently means rapid sugar release. That sugar rush has only one place to go into the bloodstream, and over time, onto nerve tissue. The third source is constant snacking. When you graze all day, insulin stays elevated and blood sugar stays unstable, so nerves never get a true break. There's no recovery window. Nerves need steady internal conditions to function and heal, and constant sugar exposure keeps inflammation switched on. Here's something most people are never told. Certain medications can quietly speed up nerve problems by reducing nutrient absorption, especially key B vitamins. Some acid-blocking drugs, certain diabetes medications, and some cholesterol medications can gradually drain vitamin B12. And B12 is critical for maintaining the protective insulation around nerves. When B12 is low, nerves become more exposed, more fragile, and more likely to misfire. Let me share Joan's case. She had numb feet for years, and she kept hearing the same explanation. It's just age. When we finally tested her nutrient levels, her B12 was dangerously low. The cause wasn't her diet, it was a medication she had taken consistently for years. Once we corrected the deficiency, her nerve damage didn't magically disappear, but it stopped getting worse, and that change alone made a huge difference. Neuropathy is rarely caused by one single factor. Most often it's a mix of blood sugar, toxicity, inflammation, nutrient depletion, and circulation issues. But blood sugar toxicity is the accelerant. It's the fuel that makes everything progress faster. And this matters because nerve damage has a tipping point. Early on, it may show up as mild tingling or numbness. Later, it becomes pain, unsteady balance falls, and loss of independence. And once nerve fibers die, they're extremely difficult to rebuild. That's why cutting off the poison early is so important. Here's what I want you to understand. Clearly, neuropathy isn't always reversible, but in many cases, it can be prevented from worsening, and that alone can protect your quality of life. Which leads to the most important question, and the start of part 2. If blood sugar toxicity is the poison, what counters it? What helps shield nerve tissue? And what simple changes can older adults make to stop nerve damage from progressing? In the next part, I'll show you how to spot hidden blood sugar spikes, the single eating rule that protects nerves, the nutrients nerves urgently need after 60, and how to tell whether your nerve damage may still be in a stage where improvement is possible. Now, we move to the part that gives you real control. If chronic blood sugar toxicity is quietly wearing down your nerves, what can you do to counter it realistically? Not as a clinician, not as a gym fanatic, but as an older adult who wants less pain, steadier balance, and a more independent future. Most people expect the solution to be complicated, extreme diets, expensive treatments, miracle supplements. But the truth is much simpler, and that's exactly why it gets missed. The first and most important step is not aggressively forcing blood sugar down. It's keeping it stable. Stop chasing perfect numbers Aim for steadiness. Nerves don't require perfection. They require consistency. Every sharp glucose spike acts like a small chemical burn on nerve tissue. Fewer spikes means less ongoing damage, and that alone can slow, sometimes even stop progression. And that leads to the single most important rule I teach seniors with neuropathy, one most people have never heard. Never eat carbohydrates by themselves. Not fruit, not bread, not crackers, not cereal. When carbs are eaten alone, they hit the bloodstream too quickly. Blood sugar rises sharply, insulin surges, and the body shifts away from repair. But when carbs are paired with protein or healthy fat absorption, slows dramatically. The same food that can irritate nerves when eaten alone becomes far safer when eaten the right way. This one rule explains why two seniors can eat similar foods, yet only one develops severe neuropathy. Often it's not only what you eat, it's how you eat it. Let me show you how this looks in real life. James was 74 and came in because his legs felt weak and unsteady by early afternoon. At night, his feet burned. During the day, his toes were numb. He truly believed he was eating clean. Every morning, he drank a fruit smoothie, banana mango juice, and yogurt. What he didn't realize was that the liquid sugar rushed into his bloodstream before his muscles and nerves had any protection. We removed the smoothie, switched his mornings to eggs and vegetables, and moved a small portion of fruit later in the day eaten after a meal. Within a few weeks, his nerve pain eased, his balance improved, and his energy lasted longer. Nothing miraculous happened. We simply stopped feeding the process that was irritating his nerves. The second major step is to cut out liquid sugar completely. No juice, no sweetened drinks, no smoothies. Even 100% juice is essentially concentrated sugar without the fiber that slows absorption. Fiber is the natural brake that protects nerve tissue. Without it, sugar hits fast and hits hard. Many seniors drink juice because it feels easy, gentle, even recommended. But it's one of the quickest ways to aggravate neuropathy. If you want fruit, choose whole fruit in small portions, and never on an empty stomach. Fruit after a meal is far safer than fruit as a standalone snack. For many people, this single change can dramatically calm nerve irritation. The third step is nutrient defense, and it's non-negotiable. Nerves need specific building blocks to hold their structure and keep signaling properly. The most important is vitamin B12. B12 maintains the nerve's protective insulation called myelin. When B12 is low, that coating thins, nerves become vulnerable, and signals start to misfire. Many older adults are low in B12 without realizing it, especially those taking acid blockers or certain long-term medications. But B12 isn't the only nutrient nerves rely on. Magnesium supports stable nerve signaling and can reduce cramping and twitching. Folate works with B12 to protect nerve tissue. Alpha-lipoic acid helps calm oxidative stress inside nerves and has been shown to ease neuropathy symptoms in some people. These nutrients don't cure nerve damage, but they can help protect what's still healthy and slow further decline. And here's a crucial warning: more is not better. Some vitamins, especially high-dose B6, can actually worsen nerve problems if used incorrectly. That's why testing and professional guidance matter. Guesswork can backfire. Step 4 is lowering chronic inflammation. Inflammation makes nerves hypersensitive and turns normal signals into pain. It can transform mild tingling into intense burning or stabbing sensations. Ultra-processed foods, refined seed oils, and excess sugar all push inflammation higher. In contrast, foods like fatty fish, olive oil, vegetables, and spices such as turmeric can help quiet inflammatory pathways. Lower inflammation means calmer, less reactive nerves. Step 5 is movement, but not punishing workouts. You don't need intense exercise to support nerve health, and overdoing it can make symptoms worse. What nerves need is blood flow. Gentle walking, especially after meals, helps smooth blood sugar and improve circulation to nerve tissue. Even 10 minutes can help. When done wisely, movement becomes medicine. Before we finish, I need to speak to something emotional, but very real. Many seniors feel defeated when they hear nerve damage heals slowly. And that's true nerves regenerate at a painfully slow pace if they regenerate at all. But here's what matters. Stopping the decline can be just as powerful as reversing it. Less pain, better sleep, steadier balance, fewer falls. Those are not small wins, they're life-changing. One of the most dangerous messages older adults receive is nothing can be done. That belief becomes its own kind of harm. I've watched people give up early and then worsen quickly simply because the real trigger was never removed. Let me share a story. A woman in her early 70s came to me using a cane. She felt unsteady and terrified of falling. She'd been told her neuropathy was permanent, but when we stabilized her blood sugar, corrected key nutrient deficiencies, and removed liquid sugar from her routine, her nerve pain calmed down enough that she stopped fearing short walks. She didn't become completely pain-free, but she regained confidence, and that changes everything. Because neuropathy isn't only about pain, it's about independence. It's about feeling the ground beneath your feet, reacting quickly, trusting your legs. Once neuropathy advances too far, fall risk rises sharply, and falls are one of the greatest threats to long-term health and longevity in older adults. That's why acting sooner matters. Early-stage nerve damage responds better than advanced damage. Tingling and mild numbness are warnings, not verdicts. They're signals that something needs to change. So, here's a simple practical plan for the next 2 to 4 weeks. Cut liquid sugar, completely pair every carbohydrate with protein or healthy fat. Keep fruit to small portions, and only after meals. Walk for 10 minutes after eating when you can, and if you haven't checked your B12 level, ask for it. Don't change medications on your own, but do stay aware that some can affect nutrient status. Then watch what happens. Track your symptoms. Many seniors notice less burning at night, deeper sleep, and steadier balance. Even small improvements matter because they tell you the story isn't finished, and the damage may not be set in stone. And I want to be very clear about this. Anyone promising a miracle cure for neuropathy isn't being honest. But anyone saying nothing can be done isn't telling the truth either. There's a wide space between those extremes, and that's where real progress lives. Neuropathy usually develops after years of quiet damage. So, yes, improvement takes time, but the first step is always the same: stop feeding the poison.